Let's go ahead and introduce the nature of the Hebrew poetic bicolon through a look at verse 4 of Psalm 8, which is verse 5 in the Hebrew. The first kola ends with the athnach, which is the major disjunctive accent in most Hebrew verses. It divides the verse in two, and here it functions to separate the two kola. The second kola ends with the saluk and the sof pasuk, which is the primary or major disjunctive accent. The Masoretes want you to divide this bicolon into two constituent parts. Ma enosh ki tizkarenu uben adam ki tifkadenu. You can hear that the role of sound is very prominent as we move between the two parallel kola. It has just a beautiful sound. The question, what is the human being in light of the fact that ki, what is the member of the guild of humanity in light of the fact ki, that. So whereas we have synonymous phrases here, we've got the exact identical particle here, and phonetically similar sounding verb forms. Tis karenu, tifkadenu. What's different between the two kola is that the first one has the interrogative particle ma, meaning what. It's missing at the start of the second colon, but it's here, clearly, at the start of the first colon. Essentially, it's doing double duty. Both kola are asking synonymous questions, but the ma is elided or gapped out in order to allow the expansion of enush in the first colon into ben adam in the second colon with its extra syllable. Now, what are the nuances? What's the intensification as we move from enush to ben adam? Look at enosh first. Enosh's days are like the grass. The Enosh cannot be pure before God. Human beings, in contrast to God, are Enosh, and they should recognize that they are but Enosh. A quote of Pascal is a fitting commentary at this point. When I consider the short duration of my life, swallowed up in an eternity before and after, the little space I fill engulfed in the infinite immensity of spaces whereof I know nothing, and which know nothing of me, I am terrified. The eternal silence of these infinite spaces frightens me. What about Ben Adam, this expanded number of syllables? Here we are in the TLOT here of Adam. Speaks of a series of texts where there's a reference to the creation of humanity or an allusion to creation motifs. And we find that that seems to be indicated here in Psalm 8. So as we move from Enosh down to Ben Adam, we're starting to get a wider context of the human being as created, creatureliness as God's created creatures. And that's going to be where the psalm is going to move. The psalm is going to already be suggesting here in verse 4, verse 5 in the Hebrew, that to answer this question of the nature of frail humanity, we have to look in the purposes of God in creating humanity, and specifically we're going to be getting into the fact that God made the human being in the image of God. In 1908 in New Zealand, Petros van der Velden created this dramatic painting, Storm at Wellington Heads. He is specifically exploring themes of the sublime. And notice how to convey the sublime. He includes in the lower right-hand corner the insignificance of humanity. Part of the theology of Psalm 8 is that humanity's recognition of its frailty and transience is a flip side and a reflex, communicating and imaging God's sublimity. And this is part of what it means to be an image of God, an imago Dei. Very lovely. And there's something of an intensification, just as there was something of an intensification going from Enosh to Ben Adam, there's something of an intensification going from Zachar, which means to call to mind, to remember, to be mindful of. We move from Zachar to Pachad, a verbal root that seems to go a little bit further than simply realizing that, oh yes, there's a relationship and it's time to act. In Pakad, with Pakad, you're actually going to go ahead and pay a visit. Let's go ahead and triple click that. There's a category of meaning that involves taking an interest in a person. So go ahead and bring a gift and encounter the person. Renew a relationship. A good shepherd is expected to go ahead and get involved. Take care, Pachad, take care of the flock. Yahweh can be the subject of Pachad in this meaning. The Creator is caring for, not only mindful of, but caring for, looking after the human being. Ma occurs elsewhere in this psalm. A little neat sandwich, a ma at the beginning, ma at the end, and then this interrogative ma, what is the human being? But the psalm starts out with, O Lord, our Lord, ma, here, how majestic is your name. And then it ends in verse 10, O Lord, our Lord, Adonai, Adonenu, ma adir shimcha, how majestic is your name. So we're getting a sense in this use of ma poetically in the psalm that the question of the nature of frail humanity is probably going to have to be answered in relationship to this exclamation about the majesty of God. Human being's ennoblement is going to find its meaning not in anything inherent in the human being, but in the human being's creation by the God who towers over all the cosmos. Frailty to be a transparent window into the towering majesty of the Creator.